Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Welcome everybody to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, I talk about 4 different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health freedom. And in that light, I'm always scouring the globe, looking for entrepreneurs, successful leaders, changing the world. So today we're going to have a really interesting discussion from a serial entrepreneur, author, and keynote speaker and future podcaster. And he's the founder and CEO of MattShoup.com, who helps entrepreneurs build their businesses and advance their leadership. So today is going to be talking all about leadership, building a business, marketing, and we'll talk about Matt's newest book, Painted Baby, which will be released in this year. And so with that, Matt, welcome to the show.
Chris, what's up? Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here with you and the audience.
Yeah, I know we had connected through Podmatch, and it's kind of like the Airbnb or the Tinder for
Tinder, man. We swiped each other, huh? And we hooked up here and connected.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Tinder is better of a marketing. So tell us more about your journey, how you got started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey and lived there till I was 10 years old. Got in a lot of trouble growing up. I didn't really fit into the sit down, shut up school system, and I got severely bullied a lot. Right, so I was really scared of life and school, and I didn't have tools just to help build my identity, right, and who I was. So family moves out to northern Colorado. This is back in the 90s when CDs, right, were replacing cassette tapes. And I asked my parents for $200 to buy a CD player, a boombox. And they're like, nope, we're not giving you money. Go figure it out. You get $4 a week to cut our grass. And that's about a year. Come back in a year, save your money. And I said, well, how about I just go borrow the lawnmower? They're like, do whatever you want. Just mow our lawn first. So I went around, and my first business was just knocking on neighbors' doors at 10 years old. I'm pushing this big mower and made my $200. So I had this entrepreneurial go out and get it mindset and attitude, but it also, fueled a sense of purpose and identity and belonging for me. Didn't do sports, wasn't the popular kid. I had the headgear, the buck teeth, very easy target for bullies. But when I got into that business space, it was my thing. So fast forward to college. I spent 4 years with a college painting company, and they basically came onto campus and recruited me and some other students to teach you about how to run a residential house painting business. Learned a lot about business, and I made a lot of money. I just share, it was 6 figures over 4 years. I'm 18, 19, 20. I spent 3 times what I made, right? So just that formula, it doesn't matter how much you make at whatever age. If you spend more, it's a losing formula. So I graduate college, and I'm not going to stick with painting. It's not a sexy business. It's hot. It's in the summer. It's so unappealing, right? Never. I'm too good for the painting business. Got into the mortgage business. We didn't get along. I ended up working at a very conservative bank where it was, show up, suit and tie, do what you're told. And just like in the school days, man, they kicked me out. So in March of 2005, a new bank president comes in, and he called me in and said, get all your stuff, put it in a box, and you're fired, get out. And I'm literally 6 figures in debt, recently married, upside down on an over leveraged house, right? This is 2005. And I should not have purchased a home, and they let me. And drove home and walked through the door. My wife asked, why you home so early today? And I told her. And then she asked what I was going to do about it. And that's how I launched my first official business, right? M&E Painting. And just went out, and I put my head down for the rest of that year and just grinded it out. We did about $500,000 in business, and made a bunch of money, made some really, really good money. And now I'm sitting here with a really poor financial formula. I don't have that mindset, but I'm like, this you can do this. And wait, I'm back in painting. This is really weird. You can actually support your family. And from there, that launched into everything else we're doing today.
Yeah. Well, man, so many lessons, and as entrepreneurship's like it's not for the faint of heart. It's like it's ups and downs, a roller coaster. And so, but it's great that, you have this experience. And so one well, I mean, we'll just talk kind of overarching is some of the biggest challenges you faced in business and how you overcame them.
The first challenge, I looked at the kind of X's and O's and what was right in front of me. So I said, hey, I've got to make $2,800 in 28 days. So there's that tactical challenge. Like, that is to not financially drown, right? And there wasn't really any room. There's no more money. So there was that. Fortunately, I had the experience previous with college painters. I kind of call that the JV experience. Right now I'm on varsity playing the real game. So there was just that, knowing like, hey, it's on the table now. Like, it's not up to the bank to cut me this check every 2 weeks. Like, it's me providing. My wife was working part-time job, but I mean, what I had to pull in was to support the big ticket items. But I was 22, 23 at the time. I mean, like, I had way more hair, way less forehead. And I mean, I go knock on somebody's door. I'm knocking on a homeowner's door at a $500,000 house, 22-year-old kid, like, hey, give me $4,000 and trust me. Was new to the business. A lot of the painters did not like that my company popped up and showed up. We were very aggressive with how we showed up marketing wise. So there was just a lot of that pushback. There was a lot of, when I went to the paint store, they'd try to start physical fights in the parking lot, which I had a mentor tell me, hey, Matt, they're not doing that to the guys that aren't successful. So, what ended up being a struggle and a challenge and a hurdle, I'm young, I'm inexperienced, these other guys are, targeting us in a way, we used those and turned those around, and it's a fragmented industry. So I think, you jump into business. I wasn't thinking much further than 30 days. And then once we got our head above water, 60, 90, end of the year. So I think it was just taking it in some bite-sized chunks and not letting it overwhelm me. But yeah, just a lot of pressure. Like, I had no room to fail, and I wasn't going to fail. There was no other options.
Yeah. I love that. Especially young. I encourage, Gen Z and Gen Alphas coming, them to like do something entrepreneurial because they're young and, really you have nothing to lose. And it's a great time. You're young and you're creative. And you've got a lot of energy. So, the other thing is when you talk about, we talked about this earlier, is marketing and building a business. And tell us more about, in this day and age, what types of marketing should a new entrepreneur focus on?
Yeah. So this day and age, totally different, right? We're in 2023. I didn't have Facebook. I had my general, like my AOL email back in 2005. And what painters were doing then, right, was fighting to pay for space in the phone book, right? So you were fighting for space in the phone book. You were passing out flyers on doors in neighborhoods, and those were the big things. But there wasn't like SEO and all of this. So what I would challenge everybody to do, obviously starting now, is where are your potential customers having conversations and engagement, right? Residential homeowners that wanted painting, they were in the phone book flipping through in '05. Now they're face down in their TikTok, their Instagram, their social media, whatever that is. So find where the customer is, and then you need to creatively interrupt their conversation. So what I did in '05 was I paid for the ad in the phone book, and that got some calls, but I targeted neighborhoods specifically, and I knocked on doors, and it was a very burn and churn, grind out a numbers game. I knew if I knocked a certain amount of doors, but other people were knocking doors, right? So I can't have the same old pitch. You've got to do something creative and different. And I would encourage entrepreneurs to do that now. Obviously now, internet, social media, creative things to get in front of people, make content that brings value to your audience and put it out there everywhere, and just stay consistent with it.
Yeah. And I love this, because, listening to your story, and it's just, you have to get creative, and, you have a lot of, haters, and people don't, you setbacks, and you just got to find a way to differentiate yourself. And, that's, I just love that type of thinking. It's kind of this, always find a way.
Hmm.
Um, and then, talking about this, because you've translated this, and then I know you've done a lot of uh, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and it's taught you
Yeah.
a lot about business and leadership. We'll talk about that before we segue into how what you're doing now with your book and everything.
No, and just one thing I wanted to add, because it kind of popped into my mind, and then we started talking marketing, is yeah, I just remember starting and they would say, "You're too young, you're too inexperienced, you're too whatever. Your dad and your grandpappy weren't painters, you're not a third generation." Just wherever your listeners are, if they're leaving the medical profession, right? They're getting ready to start in business. Don't let anybody tell you that you're too much of anything or not enough of something when you decide and you make that decision. Yeah, maybe you were a high-end surgeon. You just want to get out of the business to create these freedoms, and you're going to go start a junk hauling business, right? And the junk hauling guy says, "Oh, well, you're a surgeon. Now you want to haul junk, and I'm gonna whoop your ass in 3 years." Like for for real, just put your head down and remember that attention, that hate, it's for good reason. You should be getting it, and when you do, it's you're doing the right thing. You're doing a good thing. So embrace it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and tell us some of the leadership, because with a lot of entrepreneurs, I find they're very they're athletic, and they do things outside, keep their mental, emotional, physical body.
Yeah.
And you tell us how you've incorporated that into business and leadership.
So back to the question you asked, let's see, 2007, I walked into a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu academy thinking that I was going to go do like a boxing stand-up class. And I was a big meathead. I was 200 pounds of muscle and ego and still like a lot to prove, right? From getting fired and starting the business. And these guys are like wrestling around in pajamas on the mats. And I go, "Hey, I'm here for kickboxing." They said that class is over. Come do jujitsu. And I go, "Okay, looks easy. Like this guy threw another guy down, choked him, he tapped out. I can go do that." So they put me with a little guy, half my age, half my size, and he mauled me. He humiliated me, put me under so much pressure that I caved, I tapped out, I gave up. So for me, jujitsu, it's just such a great analogy. Like any journey, right? A business journey, leadership journey, fatherhood journey. It starts with that first step, and it's scary. It's unknown. You're literally jumping into a pool that's just over your head. Just jump in, and you kind of got to go under the water. You got to get choked. You got to figure it out. But then it also, jujitsu really changed my perception and perspective of what actually works in a physical combat engagement. But the biggest thing I would encourage listeners to, if it's not jujitsu, do some kind of physical activity that puts you under stress and pressure, where you have to create ways to handle that and push yourself. And for me, it's been a great outlet. My kids do it. My wife does it. We now own an academy, and I teach kids and families, and it's been a cool journey. So I'd highly encourage it. It's just there's so many correlations between jujitsu and leadership.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of tech entrepreneurs, and just a lot of the like they it's amazing how jujitsu is kind of like this common bonding thing. How they hang out together, wrestle together, camaraderie.
It's a weird club sometimes. From the outside, they're like, "You guys roll around, sweat on each other and stuff, and give like bro hugs." What is all this?
Yeah. And I know you're working on a new book for the audience out there. Tell us more about its Painted Baby, and tell us more about that.
Yeah, we are conditioned in just society and everywhere we go, right? Just pull up your social media and scroll through it. Everybody's perfect, amazing vacation and holidays, and we're taught in business, I was at least, and I think it's just a kind of a common notion. Hey, we have to paint this picture of perfection, A+ reviews, shiny marketing brochure. Years ago, I got forced in a sales engagement to share my worst moment. This guy would not sign my contract. He goes, "I want to know about a time that you really screwed something up and what you did about it." And I said, "Well, do you want to hear about a time that we painted a baby?" And I went on to share this story of a paint sprayer exploding on a job site, like literally almost kill a baby. We painted this baby with black semi-gloss paint, and
Oh,
like that's a bad day at the office, right? In doctor land, it's maybe like mark the correct leg, cut the right leg off, not the left. And I had to face that and confront that, but I didn't want to share it with anybody because, what's somebody going to think if I'm not perfect? But we're humans serving humans. That's all business is. And when he forced me to do that, he then signed the contract. I land the deal, and then I go, there's something here. And it just led me on this journey of, what happened there within that human engagement. And I created a framework. It's 6 C's of brave and vulnerable storytelling. So I just take readers through why they need to consider sharing some of their dirty laundry in business, and that you will actually get ahead and build deeper trust. And I don't just say that as a soundbite and then show the baby and like walk away. Like that's how a lot of books are. I actually break down a framework within the book to teach you how to capture and craft and communicate your painted baby story, whether it's personal and that leads into business, or it's just a straight business things. And then I went out and interviewed some really amazing entrepreneurs that have some really wild stories that they've really owned and leaned into, and it's defined them.
Yeah. It's interesting because the more I talk to the really like hundreds of millions entrepreneurs, people changing the world, it's amazing. Their failures, actually, some of them are huge failures, like they really effed up and did see, and it's like the more successful you are, I think the more failures you have. So
and I heard a really cool quote that a successful, winning, positive person, they are celebrating on top of a pile of their failures, and these defeated, pessimistic, nothing goes my way, they're laying underneath them. Everybody has them, right? That's like, are you going to learn from it and climb on top of it and use those lessons to teach other people? And it's all about perspective. But yeah, like we've screwed things up. We painted the wrong house once. So part of sharing the painted baby story is like we've had some mistakes, and it teaches you lessons. And that's when a business gets to show up. Like you can say you have integrity and you're honest and whatever, but if that's never tested or put on the line, then you really can't show it. So
yeah, it's all about showing everything, not just one thing, and and it allows the audience to connect with you and kind of relate to you, and they'll be like, oh, I went through that, and it's possible. And you're also gonna working on a podcast as well from talking to you, and tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I go on a lot of podcasts, and I've been told for a long time, you've got to have a podcast. But I really, as I'm launching the book, Painted Baby, and I have some readers that were pre-reading, it launches January 31st. So just a few weeks, people have been reaching out and they're like, this is such an impactful message. Like, you need to do a podcast, bring in other business owners, pull out their painted baby stories, and just promote that initiative that it's okay to screw up, So I have to logistically get it planned. I have a lot going on. So I briefly started a podcast years ago, and it didn't get traction. And I know where my pull off and squirrel moments can be. So yeah, I'm planning this year before 2023 is over. We'll launch it. It's going to be done right. It's going to be high quality. We're going to have a great time. So I'll let you know, and I want you to come on it.
Definitely, and I'd be happy to. And this been a really great conversation. We'll kind of I like to close in these kind of inspirational, or kind of tell us about business and leadership advice to your 20-year-old self.
Man, I would say, Matt, like, slow down. First, you're good enough. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. I really was working out of this sense of not having approval, right? So like, you're good enough. Congratulations. You've already made it so far just by starting a business. Things are going to take longer than you think. So just slow it down, be patient. You're going to have a lot of steps back as you step forward. And then I would have told myself earlier, people over profit. Yeah, if you pour into people, the profits will come. I focused way too long and way too much on P&Ls and numbers, and they're important, but it was at the expense of certain times people and relationships and pouring into them. So I would say, hey, you're doing a good job. Just slow it down, focus on the people, and seek help. Seek help from people that have been there and done that. And then when you get to a certain level, go contribute back to the community that helped support you. I'm a big believer in, somebody pours into you, you're overflowing, you've got to go pour that into somebody else. You can't keep that all in.
Yeah, there's a great saying, the more you're given, the more is expected, to
Yeah.
give out and mentor and help and make impact. So,
Yeah.
how can people follow you, contact you, check out your book, get on the waiting list and
Yeah.
all your socials?
So mattshoup.com. If you just go to my website, I've got a sign up for free tools. So, and I do a weekly blog and I send out email. I'm actually doing an adventure, a leadership hike to northern Spain
Oh,
later this year. So that's all on there. But yeah, the book, all the info on the book will be there. And then I do something in the morning. I'm a Spanish coffee addict. So every morning on all my social media platforms, I do something called Morning Coffee with Matt. It's just a concise life leadership business lesson in less than a minute, and it's all there on the website.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I know for the audience, Matt has this passion for Spain. Be sure to check out his resources, his website. He's on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, as well as check out his website, mattshoup.com. He's got free tools there, and be sure to get on his waiting list for his book as well. And what a great conversation! And thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you, man.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.